right, folks, we are back. This is episode 8 of Street to Strategy. Hit the subscribe button, give me a like, drop some comments if you like. Folks, these last 2 episodes, I'm blown away about how much people reach out to me and show me love about this podcast. A lot of people are talking about how it's so much healing for people. That makes me feel so good. And then another thing for those that are Facebook friends, I dropped my book. My book will be coming out on January 6th. So give an opportunity, go on there. You can see it on my Facebook and get yourself a copy. I made it $8.90. Some people ask that where that comes from. My call sign was 89 at the PD. So let's do our intro for our guest. Our guest today is a man whose story embodies grit, perseverance, and purpose. Born in July of 1974 in Visalia, California, and raised in the small farming town of Orosi, his beginnings were humble. His foundation built on faith, family, and the unshakable value of hard work. His mother hailed from the deserts of Arizona, his father from the streets of Los Angeles, and together they raised him and his sister with the simple belief that nothing in life worth having comes easy. Like many Valley kids, his first job was on a turkey ranch. Long days, hard labor, and lessons that would shape his character forever. He carried those lessons with him to Orosi High School, where he graduated in 1992 as an all-star athlete in both football and baseball. But while others chased comfort, he chased challenges. At just 19 years old, he graduated from the College of Sequoia's Police Academy, stepping into a world of law enforcement with a heart full of purpose and a mind sharpened by determination. In 1996, he was accepted into the elite California Highway Patrol Academy and was soon assigned to South Los Angeles, one of the toughest beats in the state. It was there, in the heart of Compton, that he faced the harsh realities of police work. He and his partner were shot at, a split-second encounter that would forever shape his approach to officer safety, survival, and leadership. Over the years, his courage and dedication were recognized through multiple MAD awards, and in 2001, he returned home to serve the community that raised him as a member of the Visalia CHP office. For 28 years, he wore the badge with pride and integrity, serving in nearly every capacity imaginable. From working graveyards or raising 2 daughters, to facing the chaos of officer-involved shootings, to standing shoulder to shoulder with his brothers and sisters in the Tulare County King Task Force, the Central Division Warrant Service Team, and the Special Response Team. He became a respected training coordinator, earned an advanced officer safety certification, and concluded his remarkable career with Magic Unit before retiring in 2024. Yet beyond the uniform, his story continues to inspire. Married to his wife Gracie for 12 years, he is a proud father of 2 daughters, 3 stepsons, a grandfather to 9 with 1 on the way, a black belt in Jiu-jitsu. He now pours his energy into teaching at a small academy in Orosi, coaching local wrestlers, and training the next generation, both physically and mentally. Today, his mission is clear: to raise his grandsons to be strong, honorable men, and his granddaughters to be fearless, confident women. Because after all these years, the calls and the battles fought on the street and within, he knows the truest legacy a man can have behind is written in medals or accolades. It's written in the lives he's touched and the strength of the family who carries his name forward. Please join me in welcoming our guest, Felix Lara. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
That was a lot to spit out right now. Let's start from the beginning. What was it like growing up in Orosi in the 70s and 80s?
Man, it was good. It was simple. Rode our bikes everywhere growing up. It's not like today where we have distractions with cell phones and Xbox and stuff like that. We actually went out and played and experienced life and, kind of fearless. And, as I grew up and as I got a little older, the gang started to form in that little community, and it's which made a lot of made me have to make a lot of life decisions.
I was going to ask you, back when you were young, was there gangs then, or I mean, like in the 70s, like when we were younger, like let's say 5 to 10, were gangs still kind of prevalent then, or did it come in later on when you were junior high school era?
It was getting prevalent around the 80s. Mostly Norteños. Now it's kind of half and half.
Yeah, there's a lot of Southerners
and a lot of Northerners there. The migrant community that come into the community, they migrate from Mexico or Central America. They make a pit stop in LA, then they adopt that gang lifestyle in LA. Their parents are more likely good people, and they bring their family up to these little farm communities to make a better life for their family, but their kids are already in that Southern gang lifestyle, and that's where a lot of these Southern gangs have migrated into the community of Orosi. So now,
for the folks at home, interesting enough, in the gang culture, everything south of Bakersfield is kind of Southern territory. Everything north of Bakersfield is kind of predominantly more Norteños. Here in Visalia, we have more Northerners here than we do Southerners. But yeah, you're right. All these little communities, there's a lot of Norteños. Your mom was born in Arizona and your dad in Los Angeles. How did their backgrounds and experiences shape the values you were raised with?
They were both hard workers. My mom was, or is, the oldest of 12.
Okay.
So again, growing up in a farm community, in a farming family, back then they had kids for labor.
Yeah.
And so as my grandparents would work, my mom would have to care for the kids while working as well. So my mom's responsibility for the 12 siblings was to care for these kids. And so my mom is a little more of the serious one of the family. And so, it took me a couple years to realize why her personality was the way it was.
Yeah.
Because she had so much responsibility from the time that she was able to care for.
I was going to say, probably at a very young age.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, so that the hard work and work ethic, that I have, it comes from her and my dad as well. My dad, he grew up in LA, or he was born in LA, and he moved out here at a very young age in the little farm community of Seville. He grew up in Seville. Grew up out there, went to the army, served in Vietnam, was a Army Ranger in Vietnam.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so that's where a lot of my, I guess you say, mental toughness came from. And so, back in the day, back in the 80s, there was no treatment for PTSD. It really wasn't a thing. It was,
I know. They just would get over it,
right.
Move on, and
yeah, it was shell shock.
Yeah,
that's what it was. And so they would, they were pretty much the forgotten, I guess, generation or
that makes
the forgotten
sense.
Soldiers.
Yeah.
And so I had to grow up with the PTSD, with my dad dealing with PTSD, the nightmares, he had an alcohol issue.
As I say, a lot of them turned up booze.
And a lot of those feelings would come out when he was drinking.
Yeah.
And so, but again, it really helped mold me into the person that I am. And there's a lot of stuff that the way I am now, I look back and I realize that it's because of him that I react a certain way to certain,
that makes
certain
sense
situations.
too, man. And we all kind of learned of what not to do watching some folks. And,
right.
I've seen you around your family, dude. You're awesome, man.
Mm-hmm.
And what was family life like in your home growing up? You guys?
Again, my dad was a truck driver when I was growing up, so he wasn't home a lot. And then, I'm going to put it out there. My dad, being an alcoholic, come the weekend time, it was for his friends.
Yeah.
And so he would go hang out with his friends and come home early in the morning or sometimes not at all. You know. And but my mom always had us home and try to make our home as stable as possible.
Well, it sounds like she was the backbone of the family.
Definitely she was.
Yeah.
She was, and she still is for our family, since my grandparents passed, she's still the backbone of the family. They still come to her for anything,
Yeah.
a sick child. I remember growing up, I had about 5 or 6 cousins come through and stay with us because my mom was kind of the mother hen of the family, and they would come live with us for a couple months and then move out, get back on their feet and move out. And so my mom was always the safe place for again, the backbone of the family.
Right on. You mentioned having one sister. What was your relationship like, and how did your family influence who you became?
So my sister and I, we grew up. So growing up in our family, and with my dad especially, and my mom pretty much, there was really little affection.
Yeah.
There was really, we were always taught to kind of, hey, suck it up. Well, I was at least. Hey, suck it up, deal with it. So we never really had a loving relationship. Like, I mean, we love each other and we are best of friends and we talk almost every day. But to tell each other we love each other, that never happened.
Got it.
And I think I've only told her once.
Okay.
But that's just the way we were raised. We really don't show emotion.
Yeah.
And that's, but she was a good athlete.
Does she live around here?
And she lives in Lemoore.
Okay.
She lives in Lemoore. She's married and she lives in Lemoore. But she, growing up with her, I was always the protector of her, but she didn't need any protecting either.
Yeah.
She was tough as well too, man. She's gotten in a couple of fist fights and I'm like, man, I don't want to mess with my sister.
Yeah. Tell us about your first job at the turkey ranch and what did it teach you about work, responsibility, and humility?
So I started my first job when I was 16. So as soon as I was able to work, my dad put me to work. But going back several more years, I was still working in the fields with my grandparents or with my grandfather. He would,
what were you guys picking?
Well, we weren't picking. So
okay.
he would prune trees, not much of the picking part of it. And, he would make boxes for the grapes and I would help him. And my dad would send me out to work. I get paid. My mom, hey, there you go. So I was basically working to pay them, so.
Right after I retired, man, I was doing some PI stuff where I was cruising out in these orchards, man, doing some surveillance, man. And, dude, you see people picking in 110-degree weather. I'm going to tell you something. I got mad respect for that, Pat. That's real work.
Yeah, it's real work.
And what were you like as a teenager in a Rosie, and did you ever imagine you'd end up in law enforcement?
I mean, I wasn't really in trouble, but we had a group of friends, and we're still friends to this day. And there's 3 of us left. One passed several years ago, so there's 4 of us now. And growing up with them, and it was just always I don't know. It's just a lot of boredom, because the town is so small.
Yeah, there's not much going on in Rosie. Even to this day, there's not.
So we would be out doing dumb stuff like throwing oranges at cars and stuff. And, never really like with graffiti or anything like that, but just doing, hanging out at the store and maybe getting a couple fights with people here and there. But it was good. It was a good time. Like I said, the gang culture wasn't quite there yet. So
Gotcha.
So we were kind of just friends of our own. There were more friends, but that was kind of the core group, the 5 of us. And but it was good, man. We would go to each other's houses, and one of us would, when we were old enough to drive a car, we would all pile in one car and we just cruise a little town, and just
to have something to do,
something to do, but it was good. It was a good experience.
How did growing up in a small farming community influence the kind of man you became?
So, like I tell a lot of people, especially with this generation of officers, who grown up with not really struggling, and they get to the job as a police officer, and it's the hardest job they've ever had.
Yeah.
Man, it's hot out there. It's cold, or I'm down all these reports, and I would tell these guys, you know what, this is a lot better than working in the fields.
Oh yeah, it is.
Obviously, you've never
100%.
Obviously, you've never done a farm labor job where you had to actually do physical labor.
Yeah.
So now, for me, police work was easy. It was the physical part was easy. The mental part, there are some challenges, but the physical part was easy. I always looked at it as this is a hobby that I get paid very well for.
Yeah.
And so that was my mindset, while I was working.
And I would tell you something, man. I think the same way. I grew up. I come from very humble beginnings and lived in bad neighborhoods, and most of the time the only white kid with red hair and freckles. So guess what? I used to have to fight all the time, but it was invaluable to me once I became a cop because I didn't have fear. Right. And and I've seen you in action, and I know you didn't either. You were an all-star athlete in both football and baseball. What kind of competitor were you in high school? And I didn't even know that you even played. I didn't know you were all-star in football. Yeah. What position in football?
I played linebacker in football.
Okay, I can see that. Mm-hmm. And then baseball?
I was catcher.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it was...
fierce competitor?
Yeah, I was very competitive. I had a lot of good mentors growing up. My high school baseball coach was one of my first mentors that I had growing up. Gene Etheridge. He was the coach for Orosi High School for years. And so he kind of, as a freshman, he kind of took me under his wing, and he was, and really sat down and really talked to me and really kind of kept me in focus because he knew I was at that point. I was on that line. I could either go left or I could go right. And so he saw that, and he always tried to guide me over to the right side, trying to get,
And I would say we all have somebody like that. Like, dude, I remember about 17 years old, man, drug dealer looked pretty good back then because, man, I was living in bad neighborhoods. My mom was on welfare. We didn't have any money.
Right.
And there just comes a point in time where you're like, man, there's got to be something better, man. Right. And, how did your time in sports influence your mindset later? And how did it transfer to law enforcement?
It just taught me not to quit.
Yeah.
You're not always going to be the best at it, but don't quit. Don't quit. Keep plugging away. Keep pushing. And it really showed me really how to just lack of a better word, just to compete, and just.
Yeah, because for, anybody watching this wants to get into law enforcement, man, I always tell a brand new officer, man, welcome to the show that never ends, right. Man, because you're right, man. And it does, having that competitive mindset, like me, I freestyle wrestled for about 4 years. Mm-hmm. Dude, that was invaluable to me, man, once we got to the streets because, I mean, they don't want us punching people, but... dude, I used to body slam people and take them to the ground, and you were world famous for Felix has hands of stone, man. And dude.
Yeah, there were a couple of times where they kind of got me in a little hot water.
Well, I was gonna say, I always tell this story. Me and you were cruising together. We got into a fight with some dude. You hit him, cracked his head open, and I remember Chuck got there, and Chuck was Felix's boss. And he took you off, and I couldn't hear what was being said, but he was doing this to you, pointing at the suspect, loaded in the ambulance, and then back at you.
So Chuck Mosley, man, Chuck Mosley,
good people, man, good dude,
good guy, but he was one of the guys or one of the sergeants that would tell me, hey, you have equipment to use.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You have pepper spray. You have your baton. You have, and but I would tell him, hey, but
sometimes we don't even have time to grab that stuff.
And we only trained on that once a year.
Yeah.
But I boxed a little bit, when growing up, with my dad and neighborhood kids, we would all, circle up in that cul-de-sac and we just have like neighborhood fights. And so that's what I knew, and that's what I was best at. And that's what I, trained for years. And so he would tell me, hey, use your equipment, use your equipment. That's what they have it for. That's what they give it to you for. And I'm gonna tell a little quick story. And I know you like to tell stories, man, but I'm gonna tell a story here first, man. So I just got talked to by Chuck, and he tells me, man, you gotta start using your equipment. All right, hey, say less. And so I'm working with Poli Palayo, and we're down in Early Mart on the south end of the county, and we come in behind this car and loaded with like 4 maybe late teens, and light it up, and boom, takes off. Well, it tries to make a left turn to eastbound, and it rolls into a field. So Palayo and I get out, and in my head, I'm hearing Chuck's voice. Hey, use your equipment. And we had just got the asps. And so pulled my asp out, and I'm telling them, hands up, as they're coming out of the window, because it landed on its side. So they're coming out of
you got to climb up out. Yeah.
Well, they're trying to run out. Well, as they're trying to run out, man, I'm whacking them with the baton, and there was more damage from the baton than if I would have just used my hands. So,
yeah.
But so I went back and I said, hey, this is what happened. He goes, he couldn't say anything because it was I used my weapons just like he asked.
Well, I'll tell you this for the folks at home. I remember we were in gang task force, and I told you one day, I was like, hey, dude, you work for the highway patrol, dude. They're not down with this shit. You know what I mean? They're a little bit more, I would say, in my opinion, I think they're probably the most professional agency in the state.
Right.
And you're like, nah, I'll be all right. And then like a couple weeks I came in, I was like, hey, where's Felix at? They were like, oh, he got assigned to the office. They're like, he's a fluffy house cat now, man. And I was like, and we hated to see you go because, dude, you were an ally. You are a warrior, and we'll get to it. How important was teamwork and accountability in shaping your character during those years?
In those years of
like growing up.
Yeah. Well, I always learned that. Well, I learned that it's about the team.
Yeah.
It's never about me. It's not about me, and I lived that until my last day. It's about the team. It's the team first, then myself. I always wanted to be one of the first ones for everything. First one to pursuit, first one through the door, first one to chase somebody on a leg bell, because in my mind, I wanted to protect my team. If something were to happen, I would much rather it happen to me.
I would tell you something, dude. You were a great teammate, man. I mean, I was riding with Felix, and remember when I hit my elbow on your AR-15, and it slit my elbow to the bone, and Felix pulled over and he jumped out with all the stuff, and he wrapped my elbow. We went to the Sequoia Delta, and I ended up taking like 7 stitches. And so the paperwork I had to fill out, they were like, what could you have done to make sure this doesn't happen again? I was like, make sure Felix doesn't use sharp magazines on his AR-15.
Well, we were so behind. We were so behind back then. When we didn't start getting AR-15s in our car until after the Hollywood shooting.
Oh yeah, that was the big catalyst for everybody.
But we weren't buying new ones. We were getting the old Vietnam era AR-15s, and they weren't the plastic magazines.
Oh, they were the metal ones.
The metal ones.
And they were sharp.
And they were sharp. They were the ones used in, the old ones used in Vietnam. So those were, that's what we used.
Looking back, what lessons from the field or the diamond still apply to your life today?
Man, that's a hard one, man.
That was so long ago.
I haven't played baseball long, man.
And that's cool. That's cool. We could jump. I tell you what, let's do this. You graduated from the COS Academy at just 19 years old. Man, not many people I know go to the academy that young, because for the folks at home, you can't be a cop until you're 21.
Right.
What drew you to law enforcement at such a young age?
So my whole dream was to become a Marine.
And I can see that, dude. You kind of you got that Marine way about you, bro.
All my uncles were in the Army, except for one uncle who was in the Marine Corps. And to this day, I'm still afraid of that guy. He's 70-some years old. I think he's like 75, 76. Still he shuffles down the street. I just had breakfast with him at the Elks Lodge for a veterans breakfast on Sunday. Shuffles down, slowed way down, but he was the guy I looked up to because, growing up, I mean, he was a Marine. He was very stoic, didn't say much, in great shape. And so I wanted to be a Marine. And so when I was about 18 and a half, I went down to the recruiter's office, got all the paperwork ready, went down to MEPS and was there for my physical. And I had kidney surgery when I was 10 months old. Never affected me. Everything was fixed when I was 10 months old. And this was a time when Bill Clinton was in office. And anytime there's a Democrat in office, the first thing to go is the military.
Yeah.
They downsize. So after my physical, they looked at all the paperwork and they said, if this was any other time, we'd take you. But right now, because of the downsizing of the military, we're taking only the healthiest of the healthy. And so that kind of crushed my dreams. So I decided, well, you know what, I'm gonna be a cop.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this: I was in the military during the Clinton administration, and they downsized, and it's called reduction of force.
Right.
And so I only did like 3 years, 3 months. And then so they came to me and they're like, you can do the rest of your time in Yokosuka, Japan upon a ship, or we can let you out early. And I was like, letting me out early sounds pretty good. Well, folks, like we always talk about, I am an expert storyteller or master storyteller. I got a story for you. So we're going to go to 2004. I just gotten Police Officer of the Year. So, man, I'm pumped, right? And at my Police Officer of the Year dinner, my boss walks up to me and he goes, great job. We're very proud of you. But Monday morning, I need you to clean your desk out and you're going to report to SEU, the gang unit. And so I was like, because back then you had to apply and go through like multiple interviews. And a lot of guys would get turned down their first time, second time. And so for me to just get kind of just, you're going, I was pumped, dude. And so I show up to SEU on my first day and I'm all excited. And the supervisor, he didn't like me. And so he goes, I just want to let you know, I'm being forced to take you. I did not choose you. And I was like, well, thanks for the vote of confidence. So then he gets all pissed off. He goes, that's your problem, Jay. You don't know when to keep your fucking mouth shut. And I was like, whatever. So I remember thinking, I'm going to show you what type of cop I am. So he goes on vacation. Well, while he's gone, we do like 7 or 8 search warrants. And because I was the new guy, I was the RAM guy every time. So I was the guy knocking the doors open with the RAM. He comes back. We're briefing a search warrant. And he says, and they go, Jay, are you going to do the RAM today? And I was like, yeah, sure, And he's like, hold up. He's like, Jay, have you been properly trained on the RAM? And because I didn't like him, it already brought out the worst in me. And I was like, the fuck are you talking about? It's a RAM. You swing it at the door and it goes flying open, right? And he's like, you want to have a conversation about this, Jay? And I was like, no. So afterwards, he's like, Dominic, train Jay on the RAM. And, I love Dominic. I know you do too. But this is Dominic. Jay, this is a RAM. This is a door. This is a door handle. Hit it right below the door. That was my training, right? And so we laughed. But we go back up and he tells Perry, Jay's been trained on the RAM. Well, anyways, later on that day, some gangster is waving a gun around up on the north side. We get up there and we're chasing this guy, but he's jumping through yards and over fences. He even gets up on some roofs and he's going roof to roof, and it's a big deal. But he finally gets out on the street. Some guys tackle him as we're running up, he pulls out a Glock, dude, and he sticks it in that supervisor's face. I mean, point blank. And so I was getting ready to shoot this guy. Joel steps in front of me, and I couldn't fire, otherwise I would have shot Joel. And Joel just went like this and grabbed the gun right out of the gangster's head, right? And I was like, okay. So the supervisor's livid. He's like, that guy should have been shot. And I was like, well, we had some logistical issues. But when I got back to the station that day, he was in his office with the lights turned off, and he was sitting in the dark. It scrambled him.
Oh, man.
And but I tell all that story of this. Man, good supervisors can really make a team, and bad ones can really mess it up.
Yep.
How did it feel starting out as a community service officer? And for the folks of the home, a community service officer here in town, they drive around on a pickup. They have a uniform, but they don't have a gun. They do have a badge, but they take like low-level reports, traffic collisions, some thefts, vandalism, stuff like that. But how did it feel starting out to do that with Vice PD before entering the CHP Academy?
Well, I was excited. I was excited.
Just to get your foot in the door, I'm sure.
Get my foot in the door, get some experience. Met a lot of good people that I'm friends with to this day, and met another mentor that I had, Al Nava.
Oh, yeah.
And good old Al, man, he's, learned a lot of life lessons from him. And, just being able to get out there and kind of get used to the radio and, getting used to driving around and keeping my eyes open and looking for things and just pretty much serving the community, it was a valuable part of my journey, becoming a community service officer.
I would tell you this with Al, and for the folks at home, Al was I think he did about 28 years at Vice, but it was all on the north side. It was one of the few bilingual guys, and he really took me under his wing. And I learned a lot from him. He's a Visalia legend.
Oh yeah.
And every now and then I'll drive by his house and talk with him. And the guy ages backwards. He still looks great.
Yeah.
What were those first few years like, being a CSO, and what surprised you most about the job and the culture of policing?
It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Like I said, I met a lot of good people. Gib Torres and I, we were both CSOs together. Actually, Chief Salazar was still a CSO back then.
Yeah, that's right.
And I met him through the CSO program, and it was it was a good time, and a lot of the stuff that I learned here, a lot of the people that I met here, they've helped me throughout my whole career. Just starting off as a CSO, just getting used to the lights and you do a lot of traffic control, you do a lot of low-level reports, and just getting my report writing down. So that was the most beneficial.
And I would tell you this, through the years, me and all the guys, I mean, you and Peterson and Stoney, I think were always our three favorite chippies. But, you guys just talked with us, man. I talked about some other episodes, man. I tried to talk to some of these CHP guys like on 198 on a wreck or something. I'd be like, hey, man, I'm Jay. How you doing, brother? And be like, State Traffic Officer Smith, But you guys were never like that. You guys were always cool.
No.
At that age, what kind of pressure did you feel to prove yourself?
A lot of pressure, because when I entered in as a CSO, some of the supervisors would told me, hey, this is kind of your evaluation period. You're not old enough to carry a gun, to be a police officer. So based on your performance, we'll make the decision once you turn 21 to hire you or not. So a lot of it was, it was a lot of pressure. So I always wanted to go out and make, just kind of look good.
Well, yeah, too. So, for the folks at home, you can't be a police officer till you're 21. So, for you, if I do a good job as a CSO, right, I'll get transferred over to police officer, right, which is a huge step in pay. Right. In 1996, you were accepted to the California Highway Patrol Academy. What did you remember most about that experience?
The academy?
Yeah.
Man, it was cold. It was
Okay.
cold because I started in December, and man, and it was very. I went to the COS Academy. It was paramilitary, but
Oh, that's a whole other level.
It's a whole another level because they own you. They own you. You live there, you eat there. You pretty much that's your home for 6 months, and you know it was harder. Well, I was 21 years old. I'm from a little small farm community.
Yeah.
It's a culture shock. You know, I never even knew what Starbucks was. You know, and so I didn't find out till I was at the academy what Starbucks was, because you know we didn't have it here at the time, and so you know just really sheltered. You know, but it you know again met a lot of good people, met a lot of good friends who are friends still.
I was going to ask you this, man. I don't think I've ever asked you guys, how was the food at that academy? Was it good?
It wasn't too bad.
Okay.
It wasn't too bad. It wasn't just slop on your plate. It wasn't too bad. You know, they had two different tables. So they had one. They don't call it the fat table anymore. They call it the training table now. And so if you were on the fat table, you ate.
Salad.
You ate salads and you know. Dry pasta and you know you weren't allowed to have the bread, you weren't allowed to have all the they had ice cream there, you know, and sodas you weren't able to have, and so it was very strict. You know?
Got it. How tough was the transition from a small town like Orosi to working in South Los Angeles? I bet you that was a culture shock, brother.
Man, I was lost, man. I was lost. I actually got my FTO extended because of the knowledge of the area, you know, because here you have county roads and then you go to the next town, and then you have a bunch of county roads, you go to the next town. And here, you know, the streets, the roads and avenues, you know, as you go north, they get bigger. As you go south, they get smaller. Well, out there, it's opposite. As you go south, they get bigger. As you go north. So it was always confusing. And for me, LA was always to the south. Well, I was in South LA, which was Compton. Well, LA's to the north.
Got it.
And so I would get turned around a lot, and a lot of the freeways, like for instance the 405 freeway, it's a north-south designated freeway, but it travels east and west.
Oh, okay.
So when you get off the freeway, you're thinking you're going east or west, but in reality you're going north, and because of the configuration of the freeway that you just got off of, and so it was very confusing.
Plus, yeah, LA in general is. I mean, traffic there is a nightmare. But
right.
I could see it could be very easy to get turned around. Now I'm sure they got GPS, but back then you were mapping it. I'm sure.
Well, back then they issued you a Thomas guide, and you had part of the FTO program was to tab your beats, and so if you had to look for something, the FTO would be sitting there and hurry up, you know, find it. Let's go. And you know, all that pressure, a lot of it, a big change or a big culture shock was the people. Here, for the most part, there was a lot of respect for law enforcement. You know, not really.
Oh yeah, it ain't like that down there.
It's not like that in LA.
Yeah.
Man. Hey, you get people jump out of the car on you. You get people MFing you. You get people, you know, that just hate you for the uniform that you wear. You know, where here it was respected. Not so much now. It's kind of the culture's kind of changed here too.
Yeah.
You know.
What city were you living in?
I was living in Torrance and then in Redondo Beach.
Okay, Redondo's nice.
It is nice. It is nice.
What did you learn about people and about yourself during those early years in the field?
Oh man. Learning about myself is, man.
Well, to come from where you came, dude, I mean, that's a great story in itself. You know what I mean? Because, you know, the Highway Patrol, and I've often said this, I think it's the premier law enforcement agency in the state, and everybody kind of takes their cue from them. And, you know, I tried to get hired, but they didn't want no white boys back then. But you and your partner were shot at in Compton.
Right.
Can you share what happened and how it changed you?
Yeah. So I was working with my partner. He was my third phase FTO, which was my graveyard FTO. And man, I hated this guy during FTO. Man, I wanted to feed him my flashlight so bad, so many times, man. And he would just not talk down to you, but kind of you would feel dumb, you know. And so after FTO, him and I became really good friends, and so we partnered up a couple years later, and or maybe like a year or two later.
Yeah, because graveyards, it's two-man units.
A two-man
yeah,
unit,
yeah,
right.
yeah.
So we're driving down, I believe, Long Beach Boulevard on the north end of Compton, and we get behind this car. I can't remember what kind of car it was, and we light it up, and it takes off on us, heading southbound on Long Beach Boulevard, pulls westbound into a side street, and at the end of this side street, it T-intersected into, I believe it was a school or a park, so there was a fence. So it came skidding to a stop, and it was foggy, just to mention, it was foggy that night. And so it comes to a stop before hitting the fence, and then leg bails. Well, we pull in behind it, and we start running after him, and then from across the park, I believe he was driving towards his friends or his homies there. So they must have saw it, and so we just hear pop, 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 and see muzzle flash from about 50 yards away. And it's foggy.
That's close enough.
And it's foggy, so we don't see a person. We don't see anything. And then we start hearing the hissing.
Oh yeah.
And so we took cover. Couldn't return fire because we didn't know where the shots were coming from, or if they were still there, or what our backdrop was. So, long story short, the guy got away. So by the time our backup got there, you know, of course, everybody's gone, everybody's in the house, and nobody knows anything. And so, but that was my first experience of getting rounds tossed at me. And
it ain't never good, brother.
And I think I'm 22, 23 years old, man, and you know, and it was a life changer, man.
How did you deal with the fear, adrenaline, and the mental side of policing? Because that's pretty gnarly, and where you were at, I'm sure it was like that every day, man.
So, going back to my dad, you know, my dad was, he was a kind of no feelings, you know, hey, suck it up, you know,
Yeah.
and you know, back then it would be called child abuse now, and so if you know, if I showed any emotion, or I would cry or something because something hurt, and he would tell me, "You want me to put a dress on you?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "No, Dad, no." He goes, "Then you need to stop crying." And so, man, he was very, very, you know, very big on kind of not showing me emotion. He would, I tell this story to people, and you know, he would just walk up to me, and he would look at me, and he goes, "You're a little chavalita," and he would just walk away. And just
for
because
the folks at home, chavalita means
little girl.
Okay. Yeah.
And you know, but I think he did it just to kind of make me tough, you know, to toughen me up, because I was his only son, or I am his only son, and you know, just to kind of make me tough, and it really helped me.
So yeah, when you were in those tough incidents,
right,
you weren't falling apart. You could always fall back on the fact of you had that kind of strict upbringing.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know, hey, if I can survive living with this man, you know, there's nothing out here that can you know, that's gonna what's the word?
Make you
nothing's
crumble.
Gonna shake me.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
And so that's kind of how I lived my career.
What did that experience teach you about, you know, survival and being prepared and all that?
Again, you know, going back to my dad, man, you know, he would get on his drinking binges and at home, and you know, he would have flashbacks, and
Got you, brother. Oh man, it's cool, man. Hey, you tell it like it is, brother.
You know, it's funny now. But back then, you know, him drinking it, and I experienced most of it. My mom did, and you know, I experienced a lot of it where, man, he would be outside and it would be like cold, like 20 degrees out there, you know, 20, 30 degrees in the middle of winter. And he would be out there, no shirt.
Oh, wow.
And just talking to himself, you know, and, you know, just kind of talking. He goes, you know what, you know, I'm a survivor. I'm a survivor, and I want you to be like that. I don't want.
Well, and I would tell them, we know what I've noticed about you. You're not a big drinker.
No.
And so that makes sense
No.
because when you come through the trauma of living with somebody dealing with alcoholism or, you know, mental health issues, it will change your thinking when you get older.
Right.
And because I don't think I've ever seen you drunk.
No.
You know,
I'm never out of control.
yeah, you know what? And it's funny you say that. You know, I had my first few years where, you know, I was living the cop life and we were all wild. But I got to learn of a lot of what not to do by watching a lot of these people.
Right.
And a lot of people lost their careers. Like my first 5 years, I saw so many dudes get ran out with 1 year, 2 years, 3 years on. And it really becomes, you kind of look and go, I don't want that to be, we always say it's a better them problem.
Right.
It's a better them than us.
Right.
And, but you transferred back to the Visalia CHP office in 2001. How did it feel to come home after being in the city?
It was good, man. It was good coming home. I really didn't want to come back home. My intention was to stay down in LA because I loved it there. I loved it down there. I loved the fact that the city never slept, is always busy. You know, the mother of my children, she kind of forced me to.
Oh, she's from here?
She's from here. She's from Visalia. She's from the north side.
Okay.
North side of Visalia.
Okay.
And so she kind of forced me to move back. You know, we were there with two girls, no family, and she says, "Hey, you know, we got to move home. We have no help here." She put her through school, and she wanted to move back.
Got it.
So bought a house here and transferred here in 2001. And man, it was good. It was good to, you know, to finally be home. And I was really excited about working in my own community and to work in the community that I grew up in. That's what felt
Also,
good to me.
too, man, I mean, you just know this area.
And I know the area.
Yeah,
And I
you
know
know
the
what I
area.
mean?
And I know the people.
And that makes it a whole lot easier. I learned that real quick, man, when I went over to San Luis Obispo. I thought, man, I'm going to love it over here. Dude, whole different thinking than Central Valley law enforcement. And, you know, you worked a lot of graveyard shifts with officers like Stonebreaker, Palaio, Hughes. What kind of bond did you form on those nights together?
Oh, man.
Because you and Stoney, man, back in the day, man, you guys were the 1-2 knockout punch. You guys were like the, I would tell the folks at home, they were the two highway patrol guys you did not want to mess with. I remember when you guys were down there, like the Pixley area, dude, there was I had a CI down there, and she would be like, dude, man, they'd be like, Lara and Stonebreaker, dude, they don't act like regular highway patrol. And you guys did it.
Right,
you guys were aggressive highway patrolmen.
So I was fortunate to work with Stoney at the beginning because he had a lot of connections here. So Stoney, Ryan Stonebreaker is his name, and if there was a picture of a Stonebreaker, of what Stonebreaker was, his picture would be there.
Are you bothered by leg veins of any size, or is leg swelling or pain bugging you or someone you know? I would recommend that you make an appointment with our friends at Sequoia Vein and Wound to take care of it. With a friendly bilingual staff and their years of experience, they are happy to help resolve those issues. Give them a call to get a consult at 559-713-6478 and tell them that Jay Mac sent you. Yeah, I would tell you this for the folks at home, and he'll be on in 2 episodes, but he's a big, white, corn-fed dude, and he's got these ears that stick out, but dude, he is a warrior, dude.
No,
Jesus.
That guy is, I learned a lot from him. Like I said, he had a lot of connections here with the SO, so that really taught me how to network.
Me and Stoney worked at the sheriff's office together, and we all loved him because he's friendly.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just a nice dude.
Right.
But yeah, as a cop, you and him both, you guys were the real deal, Holyfield, dude.
No, he was a great partner. I worked with him for a couple years, and he went on to bigger and better things. Became a chief. And,
like 2 stars, right?
Yeah,
dude, he's stud.
He became a chief.
Stud.
And man, I'm happy for him. You know, we had different. We went different ways. You know, our careers took different paths, and of course, he went into admin, and I stayed kind of on the front line, but he did a lot of good things, and it was good to have a captain and a chief who has been there and done that. Not somebody that it was a good test taker and had no road experience, and that's the kind of supervisor that you want.
100%, man. I mean, we've all worked with guys where you're just like, how did this dude get promoted, man?
Right.
But yeah, Stoney was a stud.
Yeah.
How did you manage working those hours while raising 2 young daughters, ages 3 and 6 at the time? I'm sure that was challenging.
Oh man, it was tough. It was tough, but I worked graveyard so I could be there to drop them off at school and pick them up, take them to their sports during the day.
How old are the girls now?
They're 31 and 28.
Jesus, I remember when they were little.
They were little, man. And so I wanted to be there for them. That's why I chose to work graveyard for so long.
Good man.
And I mean, talk about team no sleep, man. There was, I lived on naps.
Yeah.
And so my schedule was get home at 6, get them ready for school, take them to school, take a little nap. They got off at different times when they were younger, so I'd get up at like 12:31 to pick up the youngest one, and then get up an hour later, come home, get up an hour later, and then pick up the second one. And there were a couple of times where I overslept my alarm, and
we all do that. I mean, graveyards. Some guys love graveyards, and God bless them.
Right.
I just didn't.
Right.
I was what we called a day shift dweeb,
oh,
dude.
Man, and they never let me live it down, man. They remember you forgot us? It was only a couple times.
Yeah.
But
it happens, man.
Right.
Yeah. What was the hardest part about balancing fatherhood and the job?
Just being able to turn it off.
Yeah.
Just being able to turn off the job and not expose them to what we have to deal with out here.
100%, dude.
And kind of shelter them, And Gracie and I talked about this yesterday, about how my daughters were so sheltered, when we first got together, and they, she came into their lives, and that, they were just kind of little, they were athletes, and they kind of had their little friends, and totally different from the way that we grew up, and that's the way I wanted it.
Yeah, and you know what? It's so true, man. We don't want to expose our families to this, because really what we're dealing with is not only violence, but it's trauma, and we see the worst of society sometimes. Right. How did those years shape your resilience and commitment to both family and duty?
Oh man, it's we went through a lot, as the girls were growing up, and there were times where, man, I didn't know if I wanted to be a cop still. I didn't know if I wanted to stay in this job.
Everybody gets to that spot,
right? So I'm doing the job, and I was very aggressive, which, like you said, like you mentioned, the highway patrol really doesn't like that, and so always in the sergeant's office, and hey, why did you do this? What was the reasoning for this? And so, but looking at my girls, I'm like, man, I can't quit. I'm not a quitter.
Yeah.
I'm not going to quit. And I'm not going to go to another agency. I'm not going to try to lateral over. I'm going to stick it out. And by the grace of God, he put people in my life that kind of talked me through it, and guided me.
Yeah, and I will tell you this. I know I was up in Fresno one time, and there was a highway patrolman up there that quit the highway patrol to go to Fresno, and I mean, we were shocked. Mm-hmm. I was like, dude, why would you give that up? I know you're taking a pay cut, mm-hmm. and B, to go work Fresno. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was shocking. You've been involved in several officer-involved shootings throughout your career. What stands out to you most from those experiences? But I would like to get your take on the Alex situation, because he was last episode, folks. Remember, Alex was the one that got into the officer-involved shooting when he was the explorer. Felix was the actual highway patrolman during that incident. What do you remember that?
What I remember from that incident was that, Alex was like a partner.
Yeah, that's what he said. Yeah,
He was like a partner. He did over 100 ride-alongs, which I took him on many. I liked having him with me, and not only because of just having a ride along. And because he was a good kid.
He is a good kid. He was a good kid. We all liked him.
Well, he's a good adult now.
But he was a great kid. But you're right.
Go-getter, wanted to learn. He was like a partner. And we showed him stuff. How to handle a weapon. How to write a ticket, where to stand, why we do certain things, why we make approaches a certain way, and it was a good experience with him, and I'm glad I was able to be a part of his journey.
Yeah, well, dude, he speaks so highly of that night. I know that you found the gun, you passed it to him. That in itself shows that you had a lot of confidence in him. Because, I don't know if I would have done that. But once he starts asking for help, what was going through your mind?
Well, let's backtrack just a little bit.
Yeah.
So I make the approach on the driver's side. Alex stays back. He stays back a couple feet behind the right rear. And the passenger sticks his head out and looks and notices it's an explorer.
Yeah.
And he starts doing the old hippity hop, just talking, just random, something's up when they're trying to distract you.
They are.
And so I contacted the driver, and he gives me a name, doesn't run it, doesn't come back.
Yeah.
Well, the passenger, as he's talking to Alex, he's wearing a flannel. He's wearing I remember he's wearing a flannel, and he's tugging on his waistband like this, and he's pulling he's kind of
when they're doing that, folks. A lot of people, we always think gun.
Right.
That's the first thing you're thinking.
So my thought was I'm going to go back and I'm going to do a little bit more research on this guy, and then maybe scratch him a ticket, maybe tow the car.
Yeah.
And so, but when the passenger started making those furtive movements, I'm like, you know what? I don't feel comfortable leaving them here in the car while we're back at our car. So I said, you know what? I said, tell the driver, stand by it. So I walk around to the passenger side, and I pull the passenger out. And so pull him out, get him in the frisk position, and my first swipe, boom, loaded 45. Oh, well, it was loaded, didn't know at the time. So I grabbed the gun out, and I said, Alex, gun. And so he comes walking around. He's my only backup. If I was by myself, it would have been a little bit different. I would probably put him on the ground and kept them both at gunpoint. But he was there. I trusted him.
Yeah.
Like an officer, probably more than some officers.
Yeah.
And so I hand him the firearm, and he walks over to the other side. And I said, hey, make sure this guy doesn't backdoor me. So I go to take this guy into custody, pull my handcuffs out, and put one handcuff on while the fight's on. And so the fight's on, and this guy's on the ground, and I'm just laying some hammers on this dude, man. Bah! And so, and I don't know if there's another gun.
Yeah. And you don't know if the driver gets out, opens fire on you. Right. Yeah.
So I hear the door pop, the driver's side door pop. And I said, Alex, don't let him backdoor me, dude. Go, watch that guy. And then, so I hear, I'm trying to get the handcuff on the passenger, and he's fighting. And like I said, man, I'm laying some haymakers on him. And I hear the scuffle going on, and I hear he's getting the gun. So I have one handcuff on this guy. And so my decision was, okay, I got one gun off of this guy.
Push off.
I got one gun off this guy. Hopefully he doesn't have another one, but he needs help. So I I run over to the other side and I pull my weapon and I draw down and Alex's back is towards me. So they're both doubled over, and
fighting over that gun.
And this dude is trying to push that gun up to Alex's face. And I don't have a clear shot from a distance because they're circling around.
Yeah.
They're doubled over and they're circling around. So I rush up to Alex and they're pretty much head to head. Their heads are next to each other and they're fighting over this gun. So I grab Alex's head and I pull him to the side and the rest is history, man.
Yeah,
and
shot the guy 4 times. Right. What happened to the passenger? Did he run off? Or?
He ran off. He ran off, and so, us, like you said, as highway patrolmen, we're out there by ourselves.
Yeah.
Man. And so our nearest backup is 15. The first highway patrolman to get there was about 15 minutes.
Yeah, and because you think about just coming from the 99 or wherever, to get. Well, folks, there's something too. You and Stonebreaker were involved in a situation, and I remember when this happened, I thought they were going to torch you guys. I remember going, "Oh, dude, they're done. They are done," because this stuff is not what Highway Patrol likes. They want John Baker and Poncherello out there, and here you guys come. Walk us through that incident real fast, because they got into a pursuit. And Felix actually shot out of a car with an AR-15. Yeah. And I remember, it was urban legend, great story, but I remember thinking, because this is not highway patrol stuff.
Right. And all right, so like I said, like I told you before, man, I don't talk about this stuff. These incidents don't define me. People don't know.
A lot of people don't even know these stories,
people don't know these stories. I was telling you about watching Alex's podcast, and I'm watching it with my stepson Jovan, and he goes, "They talking about you?" And I said, "Yeah, man." He goes, "Man, I didn't know you're a badass like that." I'm like, "I'm not, dude.
Yeah.
I'm not, dude. That's not me. Work is work, and home is home."
Well, and a lot of this too is we're not bragging about this stuff because ultimately there's a price to be paid for all this stuff that we do. And so, but I want people to kind of get a sense of this situation. And obviously I'm going to get Stoney's side of it too. Right. But I know you guys got into a pursuit, but the guy shot at you guys, right?
Right. So we were in the area in Tulare, in the city of Tulare. We were on West and Pleasant.
Far west side Tulare?
Far west side of Tulare. And I believe he ran a stop sign going eastbound. And I believe we were going southbound and he was going eastbound. And he ran the stop sign. Stoney's driving. I'm in the passenger seat. And so we get in behind it and it takes off. So we're going through the neighborhoods and it gets to, I believe, Inyo and makes a westbound turn. And Inyo, if you continue westbound, it goes out into the county towards Corcoran.
Yeah.
And so we're driving out there. We're flying out there. We're in pursuit, putting it out. And we thought it was just another pursuit, And so the driver sticks a gun out of the driver's side window and starts cracking rounds at us. So for me, I got 2 daughters at home.
Yeah.
For me, it just set me into the black. It was like anger.
Oh, dude, big time.
So
big time.
Popped the rifle, and now we're
in a running gun battle.
In a running gun battle, And so we're popping off rounds, and so I'm popping off rounds. My head's out the window, and I'm trying to get a steady shot, and we're weaving in and out, we come around a curve. There's a curve out there just west of Tulare, and Stoney does a good job of driving and catches up to him. And so that's when he starts popping off the rounds. Well, pull the AR-15 and start cracking rounds back at him.
How many rounds you crank out of that AR?
Oh, man, I think I went through like 2 magazines.
Okay,
And
so that's 60.
Well, no, because the Highway Patrol is a little bit different.
Okay.
We only had 20-round magazines.
All right, so 40.
Because it's too intimidating to have a 30-round magazine. They just changed that policy, but, that's beside the point. But start cracking off rounds at him, and he's taking off. Well, he's actually hitting his brakes to get closer to us so he can crack off more rounds at us. Well, during that time, I blow out the back window. And so now, looking back at it, it was kind of it was a good thing and a bad thing, because now he has a clear shot of us.
Oh, yeah, where he don't have to mess around.
He doesn't have to shoot over his shoulder, his off shoulder. Now he's turning around and he's firing a better shot. Well, at that time, we start taking rounds on the vehicle. I think we took like 2 rounds. And one, I'm sure Stoney will get into it. It skipped off the hood, and it skipped off the windshield right in front of his face. And so we're in a running gun battle, man, and it's kind of an accordion kind of motion. He's hitting his brakes, and we're getting closer, and that's when I'm cracking rounds off when I have a good clear shot. He makes a northbound turn to northbound Road 68 out there, and we didn't know at the time, but as he made the turn, 2 females go rolling out into a field. So they want nothing to do with this. they rolled out into a field, and the guy didn't even stop. And so he's making a turn, and we see 2 females rolling out, and they look like they're covered in dirt, and they look like zombies, and they're like, hey. And so we kind of laugh about that. And so went northbound on 68, and
And nobody was hit. He didn't get hit by any of those air rounds?
Nothing.
Wow.
Nothing.
And see, that's shocking, because for the folks at home, an AR, I mean, that's cranking off, that's 3,000 feet per second.
Right.
And that'll normally go through most stuff.
Right.
How do those incidents affect you mentally and emotionally even later?
There was really no immediate effect. I mean, I slept like a baby.
Yeah.
I never turned to alcohol or any type of vices or anything. But later on in life, kind of, later on in the years, you kind of see kind of a destructive pattern.
Well, I would say this, and I think a lot of us ended up getting very bad tempers. Mine manifested into a temper. Gibbs manifested it into a temper. Some turned to drug addiction. Some turned to alcoholism. I remember back then, man, acid could drip from my tongue, man. And, so, I mean, did you have those things where you had a quick temper?
I did not towards my family, but more towards the public.
Yeah.
And more in that sense, more of, I really didn't deal with gang members the way I should have. It was more like, hey, dude, this guy could kill me. Because
we do. Here's another thing for the folks that don't. We become hyper vigilant,
right.
And that means we pick up on the slightest thing. And a lot of people don't see that, but we do.
Right.
And you're right. We come hard when you're dealing with violent gangsters. There's really only one way to deal with them.
Right.
You got to come at them full force. Right. And I think that's what made us good cops, but it makes us shitty boyfriends and not good husbands.
Right.
And, how did you learn how to process trauma and stay grounded after critical incidents?
Oh, man. It's, again, a lot of it's my dad, just going through the stuff that I had to go through when I was a kid, and not showing emotion. I mean, on the outside, I was good. On the outside, it was a good act, because, my dad was on me all the time. Hey, don't be a little chavalita. Don't show emotion. Don't be crying. Don't be putting your emotions out. Don't put yourself out there. So a lot of that was helped me deal with it. But then again, a lot of it came out a little bit later, a lot later, where, the anger, short-tempered, irritability, and a lot of the stuff that I see now, that the signs were there.
I would say this, man. I remember back then, and this was my perception of you. You were pretty serious. You always seemed a little bit serious, but me and the guys, we respected you. We respected Stoney, man. You guys were warriors, man. Did you guys get the guy in custody that shot at you? I never asked that.
Which one?
The guy when you shot with the AR. Did you?
No, he ended up taking a couple rounds. Well, going on with the story.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, it's okay. It's all right. It's all right. So he gets on eastbound 198, and then Chief Gilmore was a sergeant back then, and so he tried to set out a spike strip and missed, and it went northbound to 99. And I remember this, and I always remember this when I think about this story. But do you remember Joe Aguilar from the SO?
Yeah.
Old gang cop.
Joe was in the gang task force with me.
Right. So we're northbound on 99, and
I was gonna say maybe take the mic and just a little bit towards it. Yeah, I want everybody to hear you.
So we're northbound on 99, and right at Goshen Avenue, on Betty Avenue, we see an unmarked unit get on the freeway, and so he parallels the guy that we're in this shootout with. Well, the guy looks over and fires at Joe Aguilar.
Really?
And so he backs out, and so he crosses over. Well, it was before 99, before there was a center median there, and it was all oleander. So he hops over to the southbound lanes. So Stoney and I are paralleling him on the freeway, and we're kind of, still putting it out, and he's not firing back, and, we're just waiting for the big head-on. So we get to about 384, and there's a curve there at 384, and there was a car coming southbound, and he goes head-on with that car. So Stoney and I get out, and Mark McAllister, I don't know if you remember.
I remember Mark.
Mark McAllister comes up behind us, kind of gets in a V, cuts the center median, and the guy sees him and fires at Mark, and then lit the dude up, and the rest is.
Was he deceased?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You worked with the Tulare County Gang Task Force until 2007. What was that like? That's when you were with us, and we were all out there, and you were a good cop, bro. You were a real good cop.
Man, I learned so much from you guys, man. I learned a lot. A lot of the stuff that I carried over to Magic, I learned a lot from you guys. And, you, Dom, Vimo, Luma, who else was there? Flaws, Nate. Learn so much about how to deal with gangsters, and how to finesse them, and how to finesse them into giving you information. And I was I didn't consider myself a gang cop back then. I was still learning. I mean, I was still young. I was still in my late 20s, early 30s, and still learning the job. Still learning that aspect of the job. I got to train with your guys' SWAT team several times. They treated me like one of their own.
Well, we did. You were Highway Patrol, right, making more than all of us put together. But I can tell you this: we looked at you as one of us.
Right.
It was funny when you went to work in the office. Ben Iosefa came and rode with me. Well, we get into a pursuit on his very first day. Well, I forgot I had 320 extra pounds. We burned up a set of brakes during a pursuit. Shoot. My car caught on fire. And, because Ben was a big dude back then. Yeah. And then, so we go into a house. Well, me and Ben were on the backside, and I told Ben, I said, Ben, rip this door open, because Ben was 6'3", 280, 290.
Played for the Rams.
Yeah, dude, just a huge man. And so Ben just and popped this door open. Well, Ben's gun literally looked like a twig in his hands because his hands were so big, right? And we're going through this house where the parolee hears the door coming open. The parolee comes out, and he's all, what's going on? Ben does a full-blown WWF choke slam and drops all 300 pounds of love in the center of this guy's back. I remember hearing the air go out of him. Oof. And so we hook him up. Well, the parolee, after 20 minutes later, can now breathe again. He's like, hey, man, who was that? And so David Johns, who was the parolee, he's like, hey, man, next time tell the chippy to stay outside. I go, Ben's not used to being in houses. He's a little excited, man. But what did you learn about leadership and teamwork in high-pressure ops?
Man, you got to be on your game, man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you got to be on your game. I've always been, kind of lighthearted, around the fellas, guy talk, but when it's time for business, it's business.
Well, this stuff out here is no game.
Right.
And if you don't have your head screwed on straight, you can get your head blown off real quick. Yeah, and you're right, man. Back then, our gang unit, we were the same way. We liked to goof off. We liked to tell jokes. We were good. We'd love to go to lunch together and all that. But when it's time to go to business,
right.
Yeah, we suited up.
Right.
I remember one time you told me that you got voluntold to be a training coordinator. What was that like?
So again, man, I've had these guardian angels, mentors that kind of took me under their wing, and so Don Tripp,
yeah,
great guy. He's one of my best friends, still my friend to this day. He was in Porterville. He was a sergeant in Porterville, and I was going through this, just use of force here. It was about one a week. About one a week.
And that, I can tell you, for the folks at home, Highway Patrol, that is not their jam.
Right,
they don't like that.
Right.
Yeah.
And so he comes in and he says, hey, man, the training coordinator spot is opening up. You have very good tactics. People are going to learn from you. How about you kind of let everything cool down, on the streets and come and work inside for a bit. And that kind of reset my whole career.
I remember when that happened. That was big news, man, because we were like, we'd love to having you out there with us. And then I remember when they were like, yeah, Felix is going to go do this. And, we missed you. But, bro, you got to do what's best for your career. Right. And I think if you would have stayed on the streets, I think sooner or later you'd have got thumped.
It would have happened. It wouldn't have been good. And so going into the office and, being in charge of training, it gave me responsibility, other responsibilities other than taking people to jail and doing my normal work.
Real fast, what does the training coordinator do?
So we set up training. So you guys have the training every 2 years, right?
Correct. What do you call it? Perishable skills.
Yes. So we do that throughout the year. So my job was to set up trainings and, put the videos up or whatever. And all the way down from training them how to set cones or how to use the spike strip, the AOST training, the advanced officer safety training, the ground stuff, which we only do once a year and which is a waste of time because, it's a perishable skill. So doing that and, of course, the PAS coordinator. So we have the PAS.
Yeah.
I had a bunch of different responsibilities, and it was good. It was good. It kind of let me see how admin worked.
Well, also too, man. It's like, hey, you're right. Get you off the road for a little bit. Let all the use of forces kind of start to subside, and what were some of the lessons or philosophies you tried to pass on to younger officers?
Man, I had Al Nava as a mentor very young, and he wouldn't let he kind of instilled in me like, hey, this job isn't everything, man. It's not everything. It's more family. It's more, it's just a job. Shut it off. You know? And I try to tell these guys the same thing. And I try to tell them, try to instill in them that the importance of mental health and physical health.
Yeah.
And because you see a lot of cops out here, man, they don't take care of themselves.
Yeah, and I've brought this up before. I can't stand it when I see an officer that's really out of shape. Uniform looks bad. Right. I think that we should be looking our best because I've proven this many times. If they're going to think about attacking me or attacking the guy that's out of shape with a uniform that looks out of kind of the bottom of a hamper and me, I proved it every time. They'd always go after the weaker guy. Right. And, you and Stoney and Peterson, you guys, I just thought you guys were like the epitome of what a highway patrol guy should be. Mm-hmm. And it's just, I love the fact that Peterson's a lieutenant now, dude. Right. That's awesome, dude. Why is quality training so critical for officer safety and public trust?
Man, because we only get trained on certain things once a year, and like I tell the younger officers, and I just did a little presentation for the Visalia officers, and talking about jiu-jitsu because that's what we're into, and it helped my career once I started in 2009, and I tell them, how many of you guys have been in OIS? Nobody raised their hand.
I was going to say, probably none, yeah.
I said, how many of you guys have been in a physical altercation? And everybody raised their hand. How many times do we train with our gun? Once a month. A lot. How many of you guys go to the range on your own? How many of you guys do a combat sport?
Nobody.
Crickets.
Yeah.
Nobody. How much more likely are you to be in a physical altercation versus
it's 10? It's going to be 9 to 1. Yeah. Because I've pointed a gun at more than 500 people, but I've been in so many physical so many you can't even count.
Right.
And you're right. And I would tell you something. Even Visalia, they got they're sending the guys now to jiu-jitsu, which anything that's going to make an officer better, I'm all for it because you're right. The streets are dangerous. Right. Sometimes we did do stuff to just get them up and fight with people. Right. You were part of the Central Division Warrant Service Team and SRT. What was the mindset required for that kind of tactical work?
Teamwork.
Yeah.
Big time teamwork. Warrant Service, it's kind of our lower version of our SWAT team. Well, we have a SWAT team, but we only have one. They're in Sacramento, and I'll probably get a lot of crap for this, but they're more like a dog and pony show.
Yeah.
They go to parades, they go to these protests, and they sit up top, and they're Overwatch, and they may do 1 or 2 warrants a year, but our warrant service team, we're serving multiple a month. And we don't have the equipment that they have. We don't have the Bearcat. We don't have the rifle rated.
The vests.
Vests.
Yeah.
We barely got rifle rated helmets, and and they're the lowest quality that you can get because before I retired, they started giving them the better quality helmets, and they weren't the best quality.
What about the SRT? Was that the right control?
Right control.
Okay, yeah.
Right control.
How did the teamwork and trust on those units compare to your standard patrol work?
It was, patrol, you're by yourself.
Yeah.
You're pretty much by yourself. You're on your own. If your partner needs help, your beat partner needs help, hey, I'm 100 miles an hour to help you. Whether it's a crash, whether it's an altercation, whether it's towing a car or anything, I'm going to help my partner regardless. Yeah. Now, when you're on SRT, you're shoulder to shoulder with guys. And Cedric Hughes was my partner for SRT. And, having that big dude, man, he's...
I remember you guys went to some serious riots because...
we went to Oakland.
You guys were doing this stuff even after George Floyd and all that. Yeah. And I remember you posting some pictures. dude, I mean, you guys looked like you were as ready to invade Iraq.
Right.
You know, you guys had
the full turtle
I mean,
gear.
it was a full, you guys, I mean, for the folks at home, they had helmets, they had advanced body armor. I mean, even the knee pads, elbow pads, forearm stuff, shields.
Right.
I mean, it was the real deal.
Right.
What kind of personal growth came from constantly putting yourself in challenging and dangerous environments?
Oh man, I don't know. It kind of made me, stuff in my normal life was not as serious as work. You know, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't. It's not life or death at most of the issues at my home life, but it just taught me to really, like, if we were confronted with a family situation, to kind of just handle it, just deal with it.
I would tell you something. You know what it did for me is stuff that makes the average person flip out and get all stressed out. We don't do that because we process information far faster than I think civilians. Stuff that would get people all excited, I would laugh at because I would just be like, on a scale from 1 to 10, I got to give this a 2 because I've never seen a 1.
Right.
And but it gives us a different mindset.
Yeah, seeing fights out in the street, in my personal life, and I was like, well, hey, good luck, man. And I'm not getting involved unless somebody's dying. And and the people that I'm with, they're like, oh my God, it's a fight or it's this or it's that or that person's stealing. It's not a big deal.
I would tell you something for the folks at home too, and I will say this: here's the problem: more cops get in trouble trying to get involved and do stuff off duty.
Yeah, definitely.
And I've had to tell a lot of cops. I've taken a lot of people under my wing, and I'm like, don't go giving a fuck when it ain't your turn to give a fuck, right? And I hate to put it that way, but that's how we used to say it. And guys that would try to run off half-cocked, get involved in stuff, 9 times out of 10, you get written up.
Oh, 100%.
And if it's bad enough, you could get torched and lose your career. You started Jiu-jitsu in 2009. What drew you to that initially?
So I went to the AOST course, the Advanced Officer Safety Training course, and they had just started it up. So I was in the second class that they ever had at the academy, and it was being taught by our current commissioner, who was a sergeant at the time, and great guy. I'm very happy that he's the commissioner because the Highway Patrol is going a different direction now. And so they had boxing, which I did very well at. They had, other different scenario, and then they had jiu-jitsu. Well, I got my ass kicked in jiu-jitsu. And man, and I was, this has never happened to me, and I was getting worked by a guy that was maybe 5'7", 160 pounds, and I'm trying to wrestle the guy, and he's just putting me in bad positions. And so the sergeant, or our commissioner now, and I talked to him, and I asked him. I said, man, I want to learn this. I want to find out why this smaller guy is just dominating me. Yeah. And he goes, you know what? Go to your city, wherever you live, find somebody you trust that's law enforcement friendly, and just start training. So my first call was Tom Knox, and he goes, yeah, come on. And I was hesitant to start, and so I didn't want to be in the same class as the public because I just didn't trust people.
Yeah, and I would say this for the folks at home: Tom Knox, Vice legend, professional skateboarder. When I was growing up, we all idolized him. And I don't know, what is he, 5th to 6th degree black belt?
Fourth degree black belt
in jiu-jitsu, world champion, sweetheart of a dude. If you ever ran into him, very respectful. I could tell you this, he would be the perfect guy because he was the perfect guy. And like I told you before, man, I don't boy fan on people, or I don't boy fan on guys. And
but he is one that I will, that I do.
Yeah.
So, like I told you, man, there's Jesus, my wife, and then Tom Knox is about is about right there, man. He's helped me, you know, not knowing, but he's helped my career, you know, and so call Tom and I say, hey, you know, would you be willing to start a law enforcement class? And he says, well, if you bring me 10 officers, I'll start a class. Well, I started out. He goes, okay, 4:00 on Mondays and Wednesdays. And so we would show up at 4:00, and it started out with like 10 to 15, then 9 to 10, then 7 or 8. Then it was just 2 of us, and so we started the regular class, you know, with everybody else. And since then, man, it's been a big part of my career. It's been a big part of my officer safety. Dealing with people, not only the physical part of it, but the mental part of it, and you know, the confidence. You know, when somebody would chirp off, and where before, you know, it wasn't. There was no de-escalation. You know, before, you know, and de-escalation wasn't really a thing back then.
It wasn't.
And you know, once they got a little crazy, man, then it was 100%. You know, and you know, whatever happened. Well, once I started jiu-jitsu and I had a lot of, you know, more confidence in my abilities, and, you know, I would talk these guys down, and I would say, you know what, that's probably a bad idea, man. You know, what's going to happen is I'm going to put you on the ground. I'm going to twist you up, and you're probably going to break something. I said, so either you go with the program or we can go option A or option B. I
used to tell guys this: it's the carrot or the stick. Yeah. You know what I mean? The carrot is, you want to act like a gentleman, I'm going to treat you like a gentleman. Right. You act like an asshole, I'm going to rip your head off. Right. You know, what parallels do you see between jiu-jitsu and law enforcement?
The parallels, you know,
I mean, what makes them similar?
Just the discipline, and the you know, having to, if you really want to do well in jiu-jitsu, you have to make it a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And if you really want to be a good officer, you have to make it a lifestyle.
I would say he's so true, folks.
You have to be a professional. This is a profession. I tell these guys, I tell people, and I post this all the time, you know, this is a profession. This isn't just a job. You know,
it's a calling. It's a lifestyle.
Doctors, teachers, attorneys, they're constantly trying to better themselves. Officers, I don't see it too much. You know, they go to the range, they fire their 50 rounds down range, they go through their yearly certifications, but you have to take it. In my opinion, you have to take it as a profession. You're a professional. You put on a uniform. You're entrusted with a gun. You're entrusted to either take somebody's liberties away or give somebody their liberty. And you know, and if you're just some whack off man, and you know,
I would tell you something. You know, and he's so right. And I was just speaking over at the college at a class, and this is what I told him: law enforcement is a lifestyle. You're going to have to give up a lot to do it, because here's the problem that we get into. Can't hang out with certain friends anymore.
Right.
There's a lot of bars that you can't go to. You can't go and be part of certain stuff because, especially when you're on probation, you get caught doing something stupid, your career could be over before it even starts. Right. You're right. Be a professional. Take the stuff I'm telling you on board. Take it serious, because if you want to have a long career, you gotta really protect yourself, because here's the problem: how many people me and you seeing get fired?
Right,
a lot.
And I try to tell these guys too. You know, stay out of the bars, man. I know you guys are young. You know, I know you guys wear the uniform, and the uniform's attractive to a lot of women, and you know, you're young, but the bars are going to get you fired, man. Alcohol is going to get you fired.
Yeah.
Substances are going to get you fired. Women are going to get you fired.
Well, me and you went to the same academy, but you remember the 3 Bs, first day of the academy, they put the 3 Bs on the board. The 3 Bs will destroy your career. Bills, booze, and bruds, right? They used to write that. And, and it's true. I've seen a lot of guys lose their career over women. My ex-wife tried to get me canned, and, it's a bummer, man. But you're right. If you're not, I used to tell new cops this is a game of chess, not checkers.
Right.
You got to be looking 3 moves ahead. Because if you're not, sooner or later, you're going to get zapped.
Right.
How did training help your mindset, stress management, and discipline over the years?
It's a big stress reliever.
Yeah.
Training with somebody that's trying to choke you or trying to break your arms is actually therapeutic. You know? And you become best friends with these. There's a whole nother community, jiu-jitsu community, where you got to entrust these guys with your physical health.
Yeah, because if a guy goes in there and he's not being disciplined, he can hurt you real quick.
And if you tap, and you got to trust that guy's going to let go of a choke. If not, you're going to die.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of trust involved in jiu-jitsu. You got to trust your partners. You got to trust your training partners. And I'm able to kind of process a lot of stuff a lot better because of jiu-jitsu, because you're put in a compromising position, and you got to figure out, while you have a 200-pound person on top of you, how to get out of the situation, how to get out and not get choked by this guy, or not get your arm broken. And so that really helps slow things down for me a lot. Where again, confronted with situations at work, you kind of get that stress inoculation.
Yes, and that's a big word because it is. You got to have an outlet for this stuff, and I think too many guys turn to booze, womanizing, chasing women, living in bars, and it manifests itself negatively every time. You earned your black belt in 2020. What did that accomplishment mean to you?
It was huge, man. One of the hugest accomplishments in my life, man. It's not to talk down on karate. A lot of these karate guys, Kevin Grant. Yeah. That guy,
warrior.
That guy's a stud. Mm-hmm. But karate is not very. It's really hard to spar live when in karate.
Yeah, because you're strikes, kicks.
You break your nose.
Yeah.
Well, with jiu-jitsu, you can go 100% and not really hurt the other person. And so it was, it really, doing that over and over again, sparring, because we spar at least 30 minutes a day.
I was going to ask you this. How many years did it take to get your black belt from beginning to end?
Well, it took me 11 years.
11 years?
Because of work. And
you're not going every day.
Breaks. And, I started working over at Magic, and that took a lot of time, and which I was fine with. I wasn't chasing the belt. I was doing it more for myself. But the day I got my black belt, man, it was such a happy time.
Well, man, I was going to say, they don't hand out a black belt to anybody easily.
Especially Tom.
Yeah. I was going to say, and so that's a testament to you staying the course. 11 years. There's a lot of people that don't have the mindset to stick in it and, that long.
Well,
and for good, I honestly, dude, I remember you posting it on Facebook. I was impressed.
Right. Well, and a little known fact, I don't know if you know this, but Daniel Roberts used to be one of my training partners.
I did not know that.
Him and I were training together. Him and I became really good friends back in 2010, 2011, and and then I think he got in that OIS in Goshen, It was
it was 2011,
and then he kind of stepped away from training, and it was Chief Mestis was very discouraging about his training, because she had told him that, I'm not going to have some UFC fighters out here just beating people up.
Yeah, and I would tell you something, his story is, it's probably one of the crazier ones,
right.
but he was a warrior even before that, dude. That guy was me and him got some knockdown, drag out fights together. He was good. What lessons from the mat apply to everyday life in leadership?
Man, don't panic.
Yeah.
Because the more you panic in jiu-jitsu,
the worse it gets.
The worse it gets.
Yeah.
The more fatigue you're going to get. Just be calm, man. Learn how to breathe. That was my biggest takeaway from jiu-jitsu to law enforcement, where learn how to breathe. We're in a stressful situation. We're in a pursuit, or we're fighting with people. We're getting surrounded by people, and hey, just calm down, because once your heart rate gets over 175, a lot of people who aren't accustomed to that stress level, their brain goes into the black.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and it's true. It's like, I was always the voice of reason when we would get in crazy stuff. It's because I'd already been in all these fights, right. And then even in my time in the military, I was involved in multiple altercations. And it's like some people, when they fight, they just go completely ballistic.
Right.
But when you have some training and you can slow it down, you think better and you make better decisions, because you're not letting emotion take over your thinking while you're doing this.
Right.
You retired in 2024 after nearly 3 decades of service. What was that transition like for you emotionally?
It was harder than I thought.
It is hard.
It was harder than I thought.
It's hard, brother.
The brotherhood, the camaraderie, having a schedule. Because, I knew my schedule through the week. I worked 5, 6, sometimes even 7 days a week, being on all those teams, SRT, warrant service, even retail theft, team, and then working Magic, and then they had their details, motorcycle runs, gang details, saturations, wires, and
for the folks that know real fast, Magic, that is the gang task force in Fresno. They were like the first big one, and they've been going for 30 years or
1997.
Yeah, and but yeah, that's an aggressive team. Right. They go after the worst of the worst, right. And gangsters in Fresno. They got some rough. They got all the bulldogs and all dogs. Yeah.
The bulldogs primarily, a lot of the black gangs, but getting back to your question, the transition was harder than I thought.
I struggled with it.
Right. I'm on a schedule. I know I get up at a certain time. I leave my house a certain time. I get to work at a certain time, and I get off work a certain time. I go work out at a certain time. Well, now I'm home, and honestly, I retired to be with my wife.
Yeah.
My wife is my best friend, and I retired because I wanted to be with my wife. And my wife says, "Well, I'm still going to work. I'm still going to train people." I'm like, "Well, I retired to be with you." And she's like,
"Well, come train."
Like, well, then I'm at the gym, and I thought retirement was going to be okay. I'm going to sit back, but I felt myself alone, a lot. And because, Gracie would have clients in the morning, and she wouldn't get home till noon, and I'm sitting there waiting. I'm done with all my projects in the house, and, I became the house husband,
I would tell you something, man. My first 2 years out of law enforcement, man, I was like, I was a PI for a while,
right.
but I don't like criminal defense. And
right.
then I even went to Amtrak and became a cop for them. And, I didn't feel that was my heart.
You had to find your groove.
And I did, man. And, then I even went and got a master's degree, and, and I didn't feel that was my calling. This is my calling.
Right. This is your calling.
This is where I'm. This is where I need to be,
you're
dude.
Doing good work, man.
And thank you, brother. Thank you. What do you miss most about the job, and what do you not miss?
I miss the fellas, man.
Yeah,
well,
me
not
too.
just the fellas, and the women cops as well. Just the camaraderie. the smoking and joking. We sit at briefing, and you become brothers and sisters, man.
100%.
And you become a part of their life. You become part of their families, and I still hang out with these guys. They still include me, which is awesome. They've been such a big help with my retirement. Man, we just went to a quinceañera on Saturday with one of my friends, or one of my old coworkers. He invited me to a quinceañera, and all got to see all the fellas.
I would tell you this, and I'm sure you think this, but I've said this. I have not found the caliber of people in civilian life that I encountered as cops. I don't know if you think the same thing.
Well, yeah. I mean, I have different communities that I'm involved in. Jiu-jitsu community, the law enforcement community, and I get along with everybody, man.
Yeah.
I don't. There's very few people that I dislike, and I become friends with everybody. Now there are different stages of friendship.
Yeah.
There's some that and if somebody calls me and they need help, whether you're a close friend, I'm out of bed and I'm jumping to help. But to actually have people over in my house, that's kind of how I measure a friendship. If I've invited you to my house, then you're one of my close friends.
I would tell you something, when we, for the folks at home, Felix retired and we went to your retirement, and it was good to see a lot of people there, but man, bro, the amount of love that people were showing you and saying about you, it's impressive, bro. I mean, there was a lot of people there that were like, man, he was one hell of a cop. I thought you guys put on a fabulous retirement. But that's a real testament to you, bro, that people, I was honored to be there, and I was honored that you even allowed me to be there. Me and my wife went, and just the way that it was done, man. I mean, class act, bro.
Well,
class act, dude.
I didn't expect that many people.
Yeah.
So, you figure you invite 200 people, and maybe 150, 120 will show up.
Oh, it was standing room only, brother.
Man, it was over 200 people.
Oh, yeah.
And it just showed how. It just reminded me how many people I've come across and how many people have affected my life. Because everyone there that was invited for a reason.
And I would tell you this, man.
Not just to have bodies there.
Yeah, and I would tell you something, man. There was a lot of guys there that we had worked with through the years, and I was impressed. I liked what they got up and said about you. Because they touched on the fact, well, man, Felix, you were very aggressive, and I'm proud of you, brother, that you got to do a full career, because unfortunately, a lot of people don't, and they don't get that opportunity. So when you get guys like us, they got to do full careers and leave when we want. We are anomalies, bro. Tell us about your wife, Gracie. And for the folks at home, Gracie was a cop in Tulare, 8 years? 7 years?
She started off in Delano, went to Tulare, went back to Delano for a little bit, and then back to Tulare and finished her career.
Okay. But yeah, she was a cop 8 years, 10 years?
12 years.
12 years?
12
okay.
years.
But tell us about Gracie, and how has she supported you through the highs and lows of your career?
All right.
I know, brother. I know, man. Hey, I get choked up too, dude. And we need these people in our lives, because without them, we spin off into that.
My wife she's a gangster, man. Not in a gangster sense.
No, but she was a badass cop for a chick.
She was, man.
And we respected her. When we go do those gang details over in Tulare, everybody and their mama knew Gracie didn't take shit from nobody.
Right.
She was a stud, but I know she's done a lot for you, man, and that's awesome.
Before I get to that, I'm gonna tell one story about her. So, when we first started dating, we started training jiu-jitsu. She started training with me with Tom, and Tom had just shown this hip toss, man, just bam, just nice hip toss, judo hip toss. So later on, I believe it was that Saturday, we went they had fights at the fairgrounds in Tulare, MMA fights. It was amateur fights. So there was a scuffle going on, or there was some stuff brewing, and so I text Gracie, hey, you need to get over here because there's something to kick off. So I'm in the stands. I'm not getting involved. I'm a civilian. You know, I'm in my civilian capacity. I'm not going to get involved. I'm going to let the professionals handle it. And so I see her walk in with her partners, and then I see a scuffle kick off, and then I see this guy. I see feet in the air, boom, and she hip tossed this dude, man, boom, and man, it was impressive. It was impressive, and that's the type of woman she is, but she has a soft side too. She's very soft.
And I would tell you something, man. She, she's always treated me and the guys with a ton of respect, and so I have a lot of respect for her. She's strong, she's fit, she's in shape, she looks phenomenal. You look phenomenal. I mean, and you know what, man? You and her, when I see you guys and I see you guys post this stuff, you guys look genuinely happy.
100%.
And I could see the stress just peel away from you. And she looks great. She looks happier now than when she was a cop. You look happier, brother.
She is, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her. I wouldn't be in this spot if I wasn't for her. Her life story, hopefully you can get her on. You can convince her to get on here.
I asked her, but right now she's like, I don't know yet. But
she's a maybe. But she's like, hey, give me some time.
Well, tell her she has an open invite.
Right. I will. And she is the best thing I got to say about her, about being a wife, is she is a traditional wife.
Wow.
On the outside, everybody looks, she's just this badass, woman. A lot of women look up to her. She mentors a lot of women.
She does.
There are so many women out there that look up to her, her career, her guidance with marriage, kids, you name it. They come to Gracie, and her phone goes off all the time. Text messages.
I can see that.
Right.
Yeah.
But behind that strong woman, she's a very traditional wife. Where you're a very traditional Christian wife, where the man is the head of the household. Like, I don't run my house like a tyrant, but she lives that life that nobody sees, and she brings out the soft side of me that nobody sees. Where behind closed doors, it's we're in our own little world. I would much rather hang out with my wife than, and that's why you don't see us out a lot.
Yeah, no, I get that, and I'm going to tell you something, man. When you guys got together, I remember we could all just see it. Like, you guys are kind of two peas in the pod.
Right.
You guys think alike. You guys have a lot of similarities, and I honestly, I applaud you guys for having the marriage you have. I'm living my best life now because I got a good woman.
And that's a big part of law enforcement too.
Dude, it is, bro. It is.
And another thing I tell these young officers, man, don't forget about your spouse, man. Don't forget about your spouse. Don't forget to praise her every day. Don't forget to tell her how beautiful she is every day. Make her fall in love with you every day. Never take advice from people that don't love you both.
I would take this, and then there's something to be said too, man. Our families take a back seat to this stuff,
right?
And I remember when Gracie was getting out of the business, and she was just like, "Hey, dude," I remember her telling me one day, "I'm done," and I was like, "God bless you." You know what? I want you to be happy. You deserve it.
Right.
She deserves to be happy. Right. And if you guys can make each other happy, God bless you, brother.
Yeah, and there was no pressure to retire either. She told me, I was getting close to being 50 and eligible for retirement, and she says, it's your career. You retire, or if you want to go to 60, go to 60. It's your career. It's not my career. But what pushed me over the edge to retire was, we're working. It's July. It's right after my 50th birthday, and we're working a retail theft. I'm working with Cedric, and we're sitting there, and there's somebody walking out with items, and the guy leg bills. So I'm of course I'm chasing him.
Yeah.
I'm chasing him. I'm not trying to just be at the end. I want to be in the mix. So I'm running after this guy, and I step up on a curb, I step down, and then I step down with my left foot, and I pull my groin bad.
Oh, yeah.
And caused a hernia. So, but I was like, I'm gonna finish my finish my shift, and then we'll deal with it later. So I'm sitting there, and so we arrest the guy, and then so we set back up, and I'm going through my social media where we're waiting for loss prevention, and I see my wife on a Saturday, and she's with her friends at her friend's house by the pool with her girlfriends, and I'm out here sweating my ass off, and 30 pounds of gear on. I'm like, you know what, man, I'm done with this, man. That's where I want to be. And so went home that night, and I said, you know what, I think I'm done.
And you know what, bro? We all have to have that moment
Right.
where you just go like, you know what? For me, I remember going like this. I'm getting ready to be 50. You know this. If you stick around past 50, and I've seen this happen, guys get injured.
Right.
Guys get
That was
fired.
it.
They get into a crazy OIS. They get sued. So, dude, the day I turned 50, by noon that day, I was a civilian, bro.
Right.
And you got to think that way because, again, man, this is a long haul. Man, think about the guys now, man. The guys at Vice AP, they got to go to 57.
Right. Yeah. Well,
Dude.
our guys too.
Oh, you guys.
We're all part of PERS.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it was that, and I still loved the job. I still loved going to work. I was still always on time. I was still, if we had 4 a.m. details, I'm on time. I'm the first one there, or one of the first ones there. I still loved the job. I didn't have to force myself to get up to go to work and drive 40 minutes to work. I love the job, and I told myself I want to stop. I want to retire loving the job and not hating the job.
Yeah, and you know what? I think too many guys stick around
Too long. Right.
And between you both, you have 2 daughters, 3 stepsons, and 9 grandchildren with 1 on the way. What does family mean to you today?
Oh, it's everything, man.
Yeah.
It's everything. Putting a mixed family together. It was rough at first.
Oh, yeah.
With her 3 boys, she never had a positive male role model for her sons in her life. And when I came into the picture, I'm about structure. My daughters, are about, I ran them, with structure. I raised them with structure. Now, having teenage boys, having this new guy coming into their life where, their structure. Hey, doors are locked at 9 o'clock. If you're we gotta sleep. Just rules like that.
Yeah.
It was rough. It was kind of tough at the beginning. There was almost a couple fisticuffs with them. But now, man, it's man, we all love each other. We're all one family. My daughters and her sons, brothers and sisters, they call each other brothers and sisters. They claim each other as brothers and sisters. It's just good to see how we went through the trials, and now here we are, later on in life, and everything not perfect, but
Yeah, but
good.
you know what though, it is. I live it my personal life.
Right.
I come from just me and my daughter,
Right.
and now I come into a big, large Hispanic family, and they've accepted me with open arms. So I know what you're talking about.
Right.
But we've had some growing pains over there
Right.
at the old McWilliams house, and you said your focus now is on helping raise grandsons to be men and your granddaughters to be confident women. What lessons are most important for them to know?
Just how to treat people.
Yeah.
And how to, you see a lot of these younger kids, these younger males that are influenced by social media. They're influenced by friends. They're soft. They're soft kids. They're soft boys, and I try to not be as hard on them as my dad was on me, but at the same time, loving them, being there for them, and showing them how to respect women. And you got a lot of these young boys. I mean, we're in the fitness business, but we're also counselors, and we hear a lot of people come to us for counseling. For kind of bounce stuff off of us, and there are a lot of men that don't know how to be men. Don't know how to take care of their women. Don't know how to provide for their women. So I want to make my grandsons realize that they don't even know how to open a door for a woman. Just little
Brother, I tell you
things
something,
like that.
man. I'm living it, dude. I've been teaching high school here and there, and dude, the way that these guys talk to these girls, I've had to tell multiple kids, 15, 16, 17, like, listen, man, that's not how we talk around females. Surprising enough, I was at a school and a bunch of Hispanic kids, and they're calling each other the N-word.
Oh, yeah.
And so I had to go over there and be like, hey, you're Hispanic. That word ain't got no business coming out of your mouth.
Right.
There's that.
Right.
On top of that, we do have a black student in there. Don't you think it's disrespectful we dropping an N-word with somebody like that in here? I go, but this is stuff that me and you knew when we were young.
Right.
And, how do you balance your role as a grandfather, a mentor, and a coach in this stage of your life?
Oh man, it's tough sometimes. Now that I'm older, you're like that older uncle.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of jiu-jitsu students. They look up to us, and then that's another reason why we stay out of the way. We don't party, we don't drink. We don't put ourselves out like that.
Yeah.
And it's because there's people that look up to us.
Yeah.
And if they find out, oh man, hey, Coach Felix, man, he just got a DUI, man.
Yeah.
Or hey, he just socked up his old lady, And man, that would be so devastating to me.
Yeah.
And to both of us, So putting that all together, I just want to lead by example.
Well, that too, yeah. When you hold yourself to a higher standard, and guys like us that did careers like we did, we hold ourselves to a very high standard.
Right.
And, I've often said this, I think we get judged more with the people that we hang around with, because if you're hanging around with low-class people, they can pull you down. What I always try to tell people, I want to lift you up.
Right.
I want to show you the way. I don't know it all, but I know a lot.
Right.
And if I can help people, I never miss a chance to do so.
Right.
Tell us about your retirement passions, like teaching jiu-jitsu, coaching at Orosi High, the wrestlers, and their personal training. What do you enjoy most about this new chapter of your life?
Just watching these kids grow.
Yeah.
And showing them how to be a positive member of society.
Yeah.
So we started our gym. We started our gym up in Orosi about 3 years ago, and we got a group of 3 boys that we kind of started mentoring. And these boys, they don't come from much. Parents work in the fields. Family members, drug addicts that live with them, and showing them that there is a better life out there.
There is.
Out there doing the right thing isn't really emphasized. So, help them get their driver's license, help them get their work permit, help them get a job. Hey buddy, I got this kid, he needs a job, what do you think? All right, man, send him over. Just showing them how to be, adults, and respectful. And, so those kids graduated, they went off and they're doing their own thing now. And now we have 3 wrestlers that we kind of adopted. And these kids are a little more into sports. You know, they're wrestlers. And, you know, just kind of showing them how, you know, kind of teaching them life lessons, you know.
And God bless you, bro, because guess what, man? A lot of people don't do that. No. And we need more people like us that are doing it because, A, we ain't doing it for the money.
No,
right?
Definitely not.
And what we're doing it for is me and you wouldn't be where we are today without somebody reaching down and going, hey, man, let me show you the way.
Right.
How has retirement allowed you to redefine your purpose?
Again, you know, just, you know, being a cop, you know, it's all about service, you know, serving the community. And, you know, I still want to do that. And that's why I opened up a gym in Orosi. So our plan 3 years ago was to eventually open up a gym in a bigger city. We were looking at Tulare.
Yeah.
And one day, we were talking, and we were at Martha's in Orosi.
Love Martha's.
And Gracie says, "Why don't you open up a gym here? You know, if we were in Chicago where I grew up, I'd want to open up one in my neighborhood." And so that started the ball rolling, man. And so that is my goal now, is to make that community a better place.
Good for you, brother.
Make you know, give these kids an outlet. You know, give these kids something to do. Show these kids some discipline, because we get a lot of kids that, you know, they drop their kids off for us to discipline them, and we do, and we tell them outright, I don't gentle parent and I don't gentle coach.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna entrust us with your kid, I mean, I'm not gonna put hands on them, but they are gonna
check them.
But they're gonna have structure.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna get on them if they're acting out of line, and I'm not gonna put hands on them, but they will be dealt with here. And if you can't deal with that with another person doing that, then you can
go somewhere else. Looking back over your career, what are you most proud of?
Oh man, just that I was able to provide my family with a good life.
Good. I feel the same way. It's like, hey, I come from very humble beginnings. You do too. And if people would have told me I'd be living the way that I live now, I wouldn't even be able to believe it, man. And you know, I bought my daughter a brand new truck, and gave it to her. Dude, my mom wouldn't have been able to do that. Right. We wouldn't be able to eat for a year, dude. And, you know, and it feels good to do, because we always, I mean, you know, I always say this, we all want to give our kids better than we received. Mm-hmm. And it feels good to do that.
And the Highway Patrol allowed me to do that.
Oh, you know, dude, you guys make bang,
the Highway Patrol allowed me to do that. All the awards, all the accolades that I got from work, they don't mean anything. What means the most is that my family's taken care of.
Yeah. And you know what? I know I looked you up one time on Transparent California, dude. I couldn't believe what you made, dude. I gotta rob liquor stores to make what you make, dude. What would you say to the young 19-year-old kid that was you entering the academy? What would you want him to know?
Oh, man, that it's a cruel world out here, man. You know, I learned very quick, or it took me a year or so, that, man, the world is a cruel place, man, and you got to prepare yourself for it. And, you know, it's not going to be easy. It's not all about running and gunning and chasing people. There's a lot more to police work than those 3 things I said. You know, it's about, you know, again, living the lifestyle, man. Yeah. You know, about helping the community, being involved in the community. You know, I wasn't only on those teams, you know, doing all the high speed stuff. You know, we did a lot of, you know, the torch run for the Special Olympics, you know, the tip a cop, you know, being involved in community stuff like that, parades, you know, for these local towns, you know, and it's it's again, it's a lifestyle. It's a profession. You come into this job thinking that that's all I'm gonna do is go to work, put the uniform on, take people to jail, write some tickets, and that's a job. It's a lot. It's a lot more than that, man.
Well, for you, what do you think defines a good cop?
Selflessness.
Yeah.
Selflessness.
Yeah.
100%, because you got a lot of officers. It's about me, my overtime, my this, my shift, my weekend off, my this or that. It's selflessness. As I got more senior in my career, allowing somebody else to have the day off because they have a young family. And hey, I'll take care of this detail because you spend time with your family. That is the most important. That is important part of this job. One of the most important part because you got to be willing to lay your life down for him, her, for
100%, dude. And you're so right, man. I mean, I've touched on this in my last episodes. Is hey, man, we give more to strangers than we do to our families.
You spend 10, 12 hours a day with your partner, and you come home and a couple hours dinner, and then
bed,
you go to bed,
yeah.
and then you start the rat race again the next day. So you spend more time with that partner than you do with your spouse.
What does legacy mean to you, both as a man and a law enforcement officer?
Just knowing that I did a good job.
You did. You were a great cop, bro. You were awesome. I mean, for many years there, I was like, man, I don't think Felix is going to make it, man. But dude, you were a good officer. Me, Dominic, and Gibb, we hold you in high regard, and we always will. You were great, man. And what message do you want to leave behind for the next generation of officers and your own family?
Man, just make mental health and physical health your priority.
Yeah.
Because everything else stems from there.
It does.
Your mental and physical health will, or lack thereof, will affect your family, will affect your job, will affect your spouse, will affect everything that you do in life.
I agree, man. And we've all seen a lot of guys that have passed away quick after they retire. I mean, I want to collect a check until I'm 95 years old, man. Mm-hmm. And what's next for you, brother? Personally, spiritually, professionally, what's going on with you?
Just continue teaching, continue mentoring these young kids, adults. Just being a mentor and just being a good example. Like I said, a lot of people look at us, and a lot of people, there's a lot of thoughts in my head that I could post on social media, but I don't.
Yeah.
Because I don't want that person that looks up to me to be like, man, that guy.
Yeah.
Man, that guy is way out there, man. That guy is, so keeping a good reputation is what's important to me, and leading these young kids and young adults to be productive members of society and not fall into the way of the world.
Yeah.
Again, since I retired, I mean, I've always been a believer. I've always been, but I've never been 100% in, and since I've retired, there's stuff that's gone on in our family that has brought us all closer to God. And I think, this, my middle stepson, he's now a pastor.
Oh, awesome.
He's now a pastor. And, when we first met, or when I first came into their lives, like you said, man, about me, I don't know if that guy's going to make it.
What is that, Javon or
Ray?
Okay, yeah. If you could sum up your life in one word or phrase, what would it be and why?
Oh, man, you got me with these hard questions. If to sum up in one word or one phrase.
And if you can't do that, how about this? Finally, after everything you've seen, done, and overcome, what does peace look like for you today?
You're looking at it, man.
Dude, I tell you something, man. I'm proud of you, dude. I really am, man. I'm proud of Gracie. And, you know, I want you guys to be happy because I think you guys both deserve it. Right. I have a lot of respect for you guys. My wife has a lot of respect for you. You deserve to be happy, brother. Right. And, you know, man, every cop that truly knows you, we respect you. And I just want to keep seeing you doing what you're doing. I think you're doing good stuff. Right. And we'll wrap up with this. And this will be my quote for the day. To serve and protect isn't a slogan. It is a calling.
Hey, before we go,
Before
we go, I got some gifts for you, man.
Oh, shoot. Let's see what we got here.
All right, man. All right.
All right. You got me some swag.
So this is our new we rebranded 50 Fitness.
Okay.
And it's now Lifting Lifted.
Nice, man. Dude, that is awesome, brother. Thank you, man.
And then I got some other stuff for you there.
Oh, shoot. Hey, I finally made it to the highway patrol, baby. Hey, we made it.
That one, dude. And then, well, that's the Compton Highway Patrol because we were, you know, a lot of our stuff was, I mean, it's not a.
Check these out, folks. Compton Highway Patrol.
It's not an official patch, but
hey, it looks pretty similar. Yeah. And then, that's right on, little magic thing. Yeah, I'll put that on my keychain.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. Man, Felix. Oh, dude, this is awesome. Challenge coins, folks.
That's a jiu-jitsu one. There's a little patch there, and then there's...
is that when the Chippy started? 1929?
Yeah, right.
Oh, dude, these are awesome,
and
brother.
That's one of the old magic coins. The old magic coin is the one with the Reaper on it, and the new one is with the Guardian on it because the Reaper was a little too...
not politically
correct, so they had to change it.
Well, dude, thank you, brother,
right,
man.
And
I love you too, man. I appreciate you. Folks, this is episode 8. Next week, I'll be episode 9. Hit the subscribe button. Be on the lookout for my book, and I got another one coming. I appreciate y'all. Keep listening, and thank you.